What's up, team? I'm former United States Army Ranger Joshua Thompson. A common phrase in the 75th Ranger Regiment is that it's hard to get into and harder to stay in. In this video, I'll be going over some of the reasons why an individual will get released for standards or RFS'd in the 75th Ranger Regiment based on my own experience, so that you can avoid these very avoidable mistakes. If you guys want to hear more topics like this, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on future content. And with that said, let's get into it. So the first reason why you get RFS from regiment is that you failed the physical standards, right? The RFT or the RPAT. And you might be wondering, how is it possible to fail an RFT for someone who already passed RASP? And this can be for a number of reasons. The first being that while inside Ranger Regiment, you don't conduct PT within your own time. And this can lead to the Ranger getting out of shape and getting below the standards. The 75th, at least in my platoon, they expect you to do PT within your own time so that you're maintaining the standard so that you can pass an RFT at any given time. Since my squad in particular mostly did runs, in my free time when I got off from work, I'd go straight to the gym and conduct some lifting so that I can continuously improve myself. Another reason is that this individual was barely passing the RASP standard when they got through RASP, and during the time frame between when they graduate from RASP and their next RFT test, they didn't improve, right? If you don't improve by the time that you get to the U unit, from the time that you graduated RASP, right, you weren't training in Airborne School, you're hurting your chances to stay in regiment for a longer period of time. And that's why I continuously stress in most of my videos that you guys want to be well above the standard and not just meeting the standard, because ultimately you're just making life easier for yourself. And additionally, correct me if I'm wrong on this, I'm pretty sure if you fail the RPAT, you will get RFS'd as well. The Ranger Physical Assessment Test, otherwise known as the RPAT, is one of the best functional combat tests in the entire military, and it's a pretty good indicator of how you're going to perform as a Ranger. If you guys don't know what the RPAT is or how you should be training for it, I'll have a video link in the description so you guys can check that out. Another reason why an individual may get RFS from the regiment is that they failed to graduate a school that they were sent to. This can include any TDYs, Airborne School, Ranger School as well. This is stated in the Ranger Blue Book that you guys will get familiar with in pre-RASP. However, that being said, I have known there to be exceptions to this rule. Due to low retention rates, low density MOSs are likely retained, despite the fact that even if they fail a school, they're likely retained and not RFS'd because there's such a low density MOS. And keep in mind, it's not only the terrible retention rate, but the number of low density MOS graduates who actually make it through RASP is an extremely low number. To give you guys a reference, when I first got to regiment, it wasn't until like almost an entire year later that the next group of RASP graduates from my particular MOS actually arrived to our unit. And on top of that, 90% of intel dudes who reach around E4, E5 level tend to get out of the military. The reason for this is that intel dudes work very closely with contracting agencies, and so you're on deployment and you're talking to your contracting buddy who literally sits right next to you, and he tells you how much he's making literally doing the exact same job you're doing. They'll look at that big paycheck and see the discrepancy between the military pay and this contracting agency, and so they'll leave for these contracting agencies because obviously it's a significantly larger paycheck. So that's the reason why retention's in the toilet, especially in the intel community, because you can literally go to a contracting agency or anywhere else and make it a significantly larger paycheck doing the exact same thing that you're already doing, and you already have tons of experience, especially if you're in a special operations unit like 75th Ranger Regiment. But for combat MOSs, the likelihood of you being retained after you fail schools is a lot lower. The next reason is a big one, Rangers getting in trouble with the law. DUIs is one of the main reasons why, personally, I've seen a lot of Rangers get RFS'd out of the regiment. A lot of times these situations are completely avoidable by just drinking responsibly, having a Ranger buddy with you, or just having like whoever as a designated driver. It's really embarrassing hearing accidents that literally happen hours after safety briefs, and then during these safety briefs our team leaders, our squad leaders literally volunteer themselves to be a designated driver and help people. It's especially worse if you're lower enlisted. If you think your command is going to believe your words as a private making dumb mistakes, good luck with that conversation. Drugs can also be a source of an RFS. Right, guys think they won't be the ones who will get randomly selected, or there's no heads up and there's a a company-wide drug test. This can be a massive reason why a lot of dudes get RFS as well. At that particular time, they weren't testing for performance enhancing drugs. I remember standing in line of one of these drug tests, and one of my buddies was literally, he was completely freaked out, really worried that they would be testing for like RAD 140 and Ostarine. If you guys want me to do a video on performance enhancing drugs in the 75th Ranger Regiment, I'd be glad to do something like that. Bottom line, guys, just be a responsible adult when you guys are going out. Make sure you guys are with a Ranger buddy as well, so that you guys can hold each other accountable. And drugs at the end of the day are just a pipeline to expeditiously get yourself kicked out of the military. So in general, I would avoid all of that stuff. Then this last case being probably the most severe because of mental health reasons. People get RFS because they just don't adapt to the 75th Ranger Regiment culture. Now there can be many reasons for this, but I would like to hone in specifically on some of the toxic aspects of leadership. And yes, Ranger Regiment isn't exempt to this. There's a lot of A-type personalities. When you first get to Ranger Regiment, it's custom that you'll be tested so that you prove yourself as one of the boys. But I have heard instances where individuals are constantly hazed, right? They get locked in their own lockers, they get hog-tied and get thrown into showers. It sounds funny, but people get fed up with it and they decide to leave on their own. You know, one of my POs said it best: when you burn that bridge, it's burnt. You can't rebuild it. Meaning that if you build resentment within your Rangers, your soldiers, they're not going to want to fight for you. They're not going to want to follow your orders. They're not going to do what you want them to do when it matters most. This can definitely be seen as a toxic leadership kind of thing. The difference between building your soldiers to be tough and just completely harassing them and making them want to quit and just leave the environment, because it's not a fun environment to be in. You know, you're not actually uplifting people, you're just constantly harassing them. And then finally, like the last reason why people get RFS'd out of the 75th is that it is extremely physically and mentally taxing. Over time, some individuals don't adapt to that kind of fast-paced lifestyle. It can damage their mental state, and this is the reason why they either A, choose to leave on their own because it's not the environment that they envisioned and they don't want any part of it, or B, they get psychologically evaluated out in RFS that way. Obviously, there's more reasons why members get RFS out of the 75th Ranger Regiment, which are case by case. These are just some of the main reasons of what I observed when I was in the 75th Ranger Regiment. Hopefully you guys learned something new and can put into practice some of the stuff that you can implement into your daily life, or some of the stuff that you might want to avoid while you're in, so that you guys can stay and have a longevity career inside one of the most elite special operations units in the military. But that's going to do it, guys. If you guys want to support the channel, check out my Patreon and link in the description, where you guys can join the private Discord community. This also helps me put out more videos faster. If you guys thought I missed anything, comment down your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.